So when Mike asked me to speak today, I was trying to think about like, how can I be completely authentic in describing what it really is to move from a corporate environment into being an entrepreneur. And the journey that we went on to do this was different than a lot because we just didn't go into the same industry. We went from being a high-tech group and me personally being in high-tech and moving over into animal welfare and the pet industry. So quite a big different jump. For a lot of people, they end up doing the same thing. You know, I was doing something in engineering and now I'm doing something in engineering. This was a completely different animal. And when trying to think about what would this look like, what did it feel like, I tried to think about like what would a great term be, and the term came to my mind was ghosted. If you guys know what ghosting is, that's where you have relationships with a person and you're reaching out to them and they just go dark. They don't respond to you, they don't do it, despite the numerous times you reach out to them. And eventually you end up getting all kind of worried about it because you're like, did I do something? What's wrong? You know, you don't understand what's going on. And ghosting is actually something that actually occurs in business, and especially when you jump from corporate to entrepreneurship. And we're going to go through a little bit of all those stories around that. Other funny things about ghosting that I found when I was kind of researching the topic was, have you ever heard of the topic Marleying? You know, Jacob Marley from A Christmas Carol. Well, that's when your relationship only reaches out to you around the holiday season, right? So you're just like, wait, I wrote you this about I needed this help with this 6 months ago and you're wishing me Merry Christmas. What? Another one is Caspering. I don't know if you've heard of that one. Caspering is where they actually meet you face to face and tell you to your face they're not going to help you. And so they're very nice about it, you know. So there's all different ways you can end up actually being ghosted, both from a personal and, believe it or not, a professional. Our goal today is we're going to have a discussion around a little bit of the background. I think it's important to understand the passion that myself and my team have around what we're trying to accomplish. We're going to go over getting started, the hype and the hope. What are the progressions that occur as you move through your corporate to entrepreneurship world? Ghosting or being ghosted, what does it mean? How do you break through that? And then now that makes sense, actually finding the product market fit. First of all, our company mission. Our goal is to create a profitable, socially conscious company that benefits animals in need through innovation. And it's really important in there that we've learned is profitable because you need money to make a difference. You do. You have to be able to fund these things that you want to do. Socially conscious means you cannot get away from being authentic. If you're going to do something that's socially conscious, you have to be committed to it. It's not something you just do because it's a marketing thing. You have to be committed to it. And then you have to say, what are you going to do with it? What makes the difference? And the innovation, and we're going to show you some of that today, is what we feel was very, very important in accomplishing what we wanted to. I want to give some facts first on the background. Because we really are merging two groups that you would think work really well together, and that's animal welfare and the pet industry. It actually doesn't work as well as you would think. They actually are a little bit different, and it's a really interesting look at it. But here are some facts. 6.5 million animals enter shelters every year. 3.2 million are actually adopted. 1.5 adoptable animals, and that's a key word there. Adoptable animals are euthanized every year in the United States. 710,000 are actually returned to their owner. Now, here's an interesting fact. Of that 710,000, 620,000 are dogs. Only 90,000 are cats. Although, if you look at the other figure above, it's 1.8 million cats that go in every year. So very interesting from that. Not a great question, but what do you think is the #1 euthanized animal in the U.S.? Pit bull. That's, most people would assume that, right? Anybody else have pit bull? Nope. Kittens. Kittens are the #1 euthanized. It's crazy. This is why we're passionate about what we do. How many people ever watch kitten videos or ever watched a cat video? It's crazy. So that's the whole point. These are kind of things that we don't even understand. One last one. There's 14,000 rescue organizations in the United States. And the funnel is amazing. 80% of people considering getting a pet would consider adopting one from a shelter or a rescue. 66 say that's the way I want to do it. Only 40% do it. Do you guys realize as we try to do innovation, if we close that gap, you close the euthanasia gap. That's a fact. And it's an amazing, this is part of our passion and what we want to do. Now, in order to do that passion and achieve it, we need to be in the pet industry and, generate revenue to be able to do our innovations. Pet industry continues to be fantastic. $72 billion industry estimated this year, growing at plus 4%. Millennials now are the largest pet owners in the United States. Interesting fact, you would think it was the baby boomers, but it's actually millennials. 12% are retained from a rescue, 26% are retained from a shelter. Online continues to grow. Pet parents buy food on an average 7.5 times a year and treat 6. And then finally, companionship, love, what the animal brings to your household is the overwhelming factor in the passion that people have for their pets. Now, this is the start of it. So, came from a corporate world, Butterfinger, high tech, had successes there. And if you looked at my background, I felt really good saying I'm going to make the jump. I had done Butterfinger. I'd done a startup, one of those startups that takes only 6 months and sells. So it's a great story, but you didn't really learn as much as you think you would because it was just a quick hit. I did enterprise messaging and I volunteered in animal welfare. So I thought, yep, absolutely, I've got a great background. I'm going to make this jump over. And the hype, I always love this. You ever, see the Vistaprint ad where the guy's just got his business card and he's like, yeah, this is amazing. And it says bakery on it. And then behind it is $20 million worth of baking equipment. They don't tell you have to buy to be the baker, right? They just say, get the business card started. So that's what everybody does, right? We get our business card started. We get a logo. And then we take our logo and we share it with all our friends. We go, look at my logo. And they're like, great, man, you should be doing that. That is awesome. That is awesome. Absolutely. So there's a passion, there's an idea. You're sharing logos. I am an entrepreneur, even though I'm still in my cube. Still in my cubicle, but I am an entrepreneur. And it's funny because you've got all that, and that's the hope and the hype, right? And then reality sucks. Okay? Corporate experience is great, but when you're walking around, I ran platforms, but you don't know what you don't know, and it can hurt you because you're like sitting like, hey, I was an executive in a corporate, and I was doing this, I was great, and you're just like, whoa, wait, all this other stuff I didn't understand. Like I'll give you an example. Buddies was built around a passion for animals. You know what it was? A software company. So understanding that, because you start out with this passion and then you go like, I actually am running a software company. I know something about software. I'm technically dangerous, but I'm not in the world of development. So that was a whole new thing. And then you look at, great funny things. You reach out to people in your network because you think they're going to call you back. So my vet wouldn't even call me back. Like I spent $10,000 a year with my vet. I just want to ask him something. Can I get some advice? Crickets, nothing. Because it's different. You're not Sean with the Labradors. You're Sean with this idea. Bootstrapping in the 5-hour work week. How many people here are trying to get help with their business? And so, you know what? I don't have $100,000 to pay a fancy consultant. So there are tons of people who will do, hey, I'll work for you 5 hours a month or 5 hours a week. Awful. Just to be honest with you, because it takes them 4 hours to catch up, an hour to figure out what they want to do, and then they're out of time. And then the truth is, you want the help, but a 5-hour work week or a 5-hour a month just doesn't get it done. If you're going to get help, you have to be willing to invest in that help. How you get that help, whether you're willing to write a check for $100,000 or whatever it ends up being, or you're willing to however you have to pay for it, you have to be ready to say, I need you to be focused on my business because 5 hours a week doesn't get it done. And then, you have to balance passion versus control too. Obviously, I'm very passionate about animals, but my partners through all this have been the ones that are much more balanced. So you have to have somebody driving through the passion part, but you also need controls and governance. And it's ironic. You'll start to see how I wanted to get away from corporate, but then slowly those disciplines start to come back in, right? And then everybody loves it, but in the end, you're on your own. So all those pictures, and you're still running around, and I bet you there's at least 4 people in this audience right now that have their logo in their bag. And they're going to talk about it. They're going to say, like, hey, I'm just starting this. Look at that. And everybody likes it. And then about 3 weeks later, everybody forgets because they go back to their life. So the reality sucks, but there is the art of the pivot. And we did pivot a little bit. 7 major times, probably 18 minor times. And you have to understand, we started out, the idea was to create this kind of platform where you could store your pet's health records. I had 3 dogs and was having a hard time keeping up with all that. And put it together. It was actually here across campus. I was trying to push it out there. And it turns out that people interact with their health records on average once a year, which means on average you get to see your customer once a year, which on average means you don't have a business. And so realizing that, and then also seeing the vets come in, and we said, it was neat. It would have been great if I had done it in 2009, but in 2015, a little bit of a one-trick pony. So we ended up saying, I was working in animal welfare, and I said, why don't we move over to the rescues? And actually, that really made sense, because rescues were having a hard time managing all the paperwork. If you've ever adopted a rescue animal, you get everything vis-a-vis a giant folder that's really hard to understand. What the pet parent does typically is throw it in the back seat of the car and play with the puppy. That's what they do. And then a month later, they're calling up saying, I need my rabies certificate. Yeah, I can't find it. So, So the rescues looked like a really good opportunity. Ironically was, in the beginning, we really tried to fit a square peg into a round hole. Because we're like, hey, this already does all that stuff. But the truth was you had to go back and really get the requirements right. Just because you thought it fit and you think you're going to be able to push it through, that's not the case. You really have to get your requirements right. And you had to go back and we didn't redo stuff necessarily, but we had to kind of customize and understand what they were doing. Other pivots, everybody will do this pivot. There's an app for that. I mean, eventually you just say like, okay, we needed an app. One place for all your needs. Yeah, we kept saying, okay, we're just trying to find that product market fit. Understanding your role in rescue. This was interesting. And we'll talk about a little bit more. We were out there really trying to work with folks, right? And saying like, hey, we're in there, we're helping you save the animals, we're helping you manage the stuff. And we were bringing what was believed to be corporate value to a group that is mission-based. So we didn't quite understand that their mission is save the animal, save the animal, save the animal, raise money, save the animal. And somewhere down where we were, which was needed, was manage the business. So we had to understand what our role was. And then we started to understand pivot number 6 and 7, the benefit of the rescues, and then simplification. And we'll take you guys through that a little bit later. The great T is getting traction. This is, as entrepreneurs, you're starting out. I think one of the gentlemen said, I've been doing it about 3 months. You start to get traction. And we did some innovations. We did paperless adoptions, digitizing all the records. So now instead of getting a file folder, the adopter was actually getting all their information online. So there was no losing of the rabies certificate. There was no not understanding where the health records were. They had everything they needed online. It actually worked really well, and we got another benefit out of it, which was it saved the rescues about 20% of the time. You wouldn't believe how many phone calls they get looking for that rabies certificate or looking for the health record or trying to understand what it was. We went mobile, which was really important because most of the volunteers are 25 or younger in rescues. And so by creating a mobile app, which was unique for it at the time, allowed a lot of the younger people to be able to manage the animals and care via their phone, which is what they were used to doing. And we also, like I shared with you, the initial care came through, and then our user base in animals grew. We work with over 200 rescues. We've saved thousands of animals through our system, which was great. It was what we wanted to be doing. We're concentrating. But getting traction and what not to do is another important thing to understand. Because when you get traction, you can get a little bit lost. You start to service things because you're excited about the success, but you got to remember where you're going. Where are you going to take your idea? And the issue behind that was we started to try to keep doing innovations, and the rescues would tell us to do stuff, and we forgot the basic blocking and tackling of making sure we're maintaining those relationships as they go forward. Once you signed up, we got you, you're using the system, great, but we kind of forgot a little bit about taking care of those customers over the course of the life of their relationship with us. And then finally and this is a big one, guys, and I've talked to lots of entrepreneurs about this, the desire to be liked. It's a weird thing, but it's a big thing. Anybody in here who doesn't think that's part of the journey is crazy. And it's the hardest part of the journey too, for me especially, because you want to be liked. You want to, hey, we're helping animals. And then, you kind of feel like if you're not getting a response, oh my God, do they not like me? Does it become personal? And there's this desire to be liked, and it can affect how you actually do your business. And understanding that, no, you don't want to go in and be a jerk. That's not the point. But the point is balance this desire to be liked with the desire to actually succeed in what you're trying to accomplish. Really important. Cannot emphasize it enough to anybody making this change. And then, come on, man, dealing with adversity. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong. It's just crazy. This, initially, we started with hired a developer out of Florida and a marketing person out of New York. And so they're going to help us kind of put this initial thoughts together. During the whole time, they fought. They hated each other. They ended up getting married. Literally hated each other, like in between, like, oh, Phil's totally screwing you on that development. I'm just telling you. Janice doesn't know what the hell she's talking about with that marketing stuff. I'll tell you right now. I love you too. Boom, gone. I'm like, who, what? Marketing and the development team married. Okay, that's step one. Then we started sending letters out to the rescues, right? 50% open rate. Anybody in this room have a 50% open rate on their emails? Nope. We did, because they hire people to open every email to make sure a dog isn't wanting to be adopted. So we thought, we got a 50% open rate. We were killing this thing. We had a 0% read rate, because they would just look at it, go, nope, boom, gone. And it took a little while to figure that out, but we were like, oh, we're doing great in email marketing. We weren't. This was another good. We did offshore development, and trying to explain to a culture that doesn't understand why we love dogs and cats the way we do, they just looked at us like we were nuts. You do what? No, crazy, not gonna, just did not understand it. So when you're trying to explain to somebody overseas that, oh no, we have 3 dogs and we do it, they're like kids. They're like, kids, what? They're not, they're animals, right? We just, amazing struggle with that. This one's we hired a UI UX guy from one of these groups, where you had to do the meetups and it's like, it's about design, and we're like, that guy's a genius, we're gonna get him. We got him, and literally we became 15 on his list of things to do. I mean, literally, like we thought we're gonna get this great guy, and he literally put us at the bottom of the bottom, and the results showed that. Then we finally get it going, and unfortunately my dad has a stroke on the day we launch. You just don't see those kind of things happen. It's just like, and this is where the come on, man, you're just like, you got to be kidding. We got through all this, we're right there, and then that happens. Our partner runs a Valentine's Day promotion on February 23rd. That didn't go as well as we'd hoped. We were looking, going like, we're gonna nail this. The 23rd, okay, it's close. There's still probably somebody trying to make up for forgetting they can buy, right? $100,000 worth of food, tried to place an order for a rescue, $100,000. Couldn't get a call back. Like, here's a check for $100,000. Will anybody call me? No. Unbelievable. And then finally, this is great. 3 years in, finally got our product market fit, got the execs at the distribution company. We are going to be a player. The day we signed, the guy got transitioned out of the company. I said, oh, great, he got promoted. Where's he going? No, he's going out the door, as is your deal. And I was just like, I remember I was talking to my partner about that, and I was just like, that's not even a joke anymore. That's just cruel. But these are all things. What do you have to do? Okay, those are the horror stories. You got to be persistent. You got to believe in what you do. Because being an entrepreneur will test whether or not you really, really want to do this. And you'll get thrown things that you never, ever saw coming. I mean, the marriage of a developer and a marketing person. That doesn't happen. But it did to us. ghosting, understanding how things work. This is really, an important part. This is where kind of the ghost who comes in. Just because you want to help and just because you want to be a part of something doesn't mean you are. And depending on the industries you go into, especially when you jump into a new one, you are an outsider. Even though you're trying to do, our outsider was we're trying to help animals and we want to make a difference and all this stuff, which was good for the industry, but we still were outsiders. And we ran into so many roadblocks. You were online only. You didn't have a brick and mortar. We're trying to protect ourselves against the brick and mortar. We're scared to death of Amazon and Chewy, so we don't like what you're doing. No, we're trying to save animals. Doesn't matter. We're not working with you. On the welfare side, it was, hey, we want to be down there and work with you and saving the animals. We're going to be in there working with the management of your organization. No, you're not, because you're not bottle feeder. You're not actually doing the work. You're not holding the kitten and feeding it with the bottle. So you're not part of this. So that was really frustrating because that's really getting ghosted. That's really feeling like, hey, I'm in here trying to help. We're bringing people in. We have rescue people that work for us. We were really trying to be integrated, but we weren't in the right place. We had not really understood or listened to the industry. The other one that was interesting, I do want to share this. This is one. Animal welfare and not-for-profit is the toughest thing I and we have ever done as a team. You would think saving animals and helping animals would be the most cuddly, awesome thing to do in the world. It is ridiculously tough because of the value circle. Everyone believes they're contributing something special because they're saving the animal, and I think sometimes that can get in the way of actually trying to accomplish what you want to do. Remember, the shelters are saving a ton of animals, and then the name rescue is for the people who pull them out of the shelters. If you talk to shelter people, they're like, no, we rescue too. That's just an example of this kind of value circle. Or a person adopting an animal has rescued that animal, right? But the rescuers would say, no, they're an adopter, not a rescuer. No, see, just interesting to watch. And you had to understand those nuances. Really, really important to be successful. The product market fit. One of the things, 7 iterations, 11, different minor iterations. You keep the good. Every time you throw something away, there's something good that come out of it. If you throw something away that's completely shit, then you probably didn't think through it as well as you should have. There's usually something good that comes out of every iteration. We tapped into the kind of the shop for a cause thought, and I want to throw this out to you guys. This was really the big aha moment. When you meet somebody and they have a cute little dog, right? Or a cute big dog, and you go, oh my God, I love your dog. What kind of dog is it? What is one of the first things that comes out of their mouth? Yeah. It's a rescue. And that's when the aha moment came for us. This is more than just adopting an animal. It is a feeling that everyone has in that value circle about how they feel about themselves. Remember, 83% love the companionship, and that's the huge item. Rescue animals bring that, and you've done something in helping that animal, and the animal helps you as much as well. Huge thing for us to understand how that actually works, because that helps us to understand how this whole circle of people involved with not only the industry, but also with animal welfare works. So It's a Rescue became huge for us to understand how that worked. The data showed there was an opportunity. You would actually look at what we're doing and say, well, there's Chewy, there's Amazon, what the heck? There was a group of people that want to shop and make a difference and get the products that they want. So this is what it came, buddies. Saving rescue animals by feeding yours. And the idea was we give 6% back to rescue organizations of your choice, by the way. So somebody mentioned, oh, that's like Tom's shoes. Kinda. Tom ships it to Africa, you don't know who got the shoes. With us, you know exactly who got it because you can actually name who you want it. 6% of give back. How much do you think Amazon gives back on every purchase? Amazon Smile? 0.5%. So we're 12 times Amazon Smile. Most people do Amazon Smile and think they're making a huge difference. $1,000 on Amazon Smile is a $5 donation. $1,000 on Buddies is $60. The difference between that is saving an animal and 1 cup of food. We have a partnership now. We learned real quick that when people order online or order with you, they will do something because you're doing mission-based work, but they won't give you much for it. So you can't sell a $50, if it's on retail for $50 and it's $60 on your site, they won't buy it. But if it's $51 or $52, they will. And they expect the same kind of service, and they're pleasantly surprised. We're online with Chewy and Amazon. We partner with the East Coast guys finally. We did get that deal done. So we have 31,000 products. We have high margins, and we have no inventory costs. That is a huge, that's how we do what we do. We also learned that we are not vendors to the rescue organizations. We are donors. And changing the way we appeared to the rescues was huge. Now we give them money, we give them software, we can give them food and products. That is how we fit into their world. We weren't operational like we were trying to be. We are more a donor partner. And that has been incredibly successful. Other parts of it is, because of what we do in the donations to the rescues now have touch points throughout the year. So instead of just trying to raise money once a year at Christmas, we actually touch them, 6, 7, as I said, 7.5 to 6 times a year. We also added kennel-based pop-up stores because we had to become brick and mortar. It was part of the industry's requirement. So we created pop-up stores. So if you go to local rescues in LA, we actually are in Philadelphia as well, you'll see little buddies marketplaces that pop up on Saturdays and Sundays when they're adopting and then disappear Monday through Friday when they're not active. And then the last part of it is all that work you saw beforehand where you guys would say like, God, dude, you wasted 2 years of doing all that stuff. No, that gives us authenticity or being authentic. It is absolutely incredibly important. We may have done it a little bit backwards to get where we are, but because we do the software, because we work with the rescues, because we do all that, challenge us. If somebody ever came to me and said, you guys are full of blank, I'd be like, we are not. We donate a ton of money. We do all this work in the community. We are real, we're authentic. And that's the combination. It's a combination of getting it right with the industry, getting it right with the welfare, which was difficult, getting those two together, and the consumers buying in. So that's the story. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. Anyone identify with that? Raise your arm. Raise your hand. Yeah, I mean, the product market fit is critical, and sometimes we try something with this initial idea of like, this is my idea, these are my customer segments, this is the market, and sometimes it doesn't fit. But pivoting like you did is so essential, and I really like how you said, I want to resonate with this for just a second, is just the idea that when you create something, there's always something to take away from it. Even if it's not quite successful in the capacity that you anticipated, there's always something to pull away from that. And if you pivot well enough, you actually might be able to redeem yourself and save the company. And that's just really awesome that you're able to do it. And I think the social entrepreneurship part of it, 6%, is massive. And just another round of applause, because I think that's just such a beautiful thing that you guys are doing with animal rescues and also millennials, because we have fur babies because we can't afford real babies. But anyway, we're going to open up to Q&A now. John's going to walk around with the mic. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get it answered. But if you have a story or a comment that you'd like to share with us, let's save that for offline, because I think Sean's going to be hanging out with us anyway. All right, thanks.
All right. Quick audience interaction. How many people own a pet, dog or cat? And how many people have used Chewy.com? Sean has coupons. So if you're interested, I think you're going to give those out a little later.
Yeah, so we've got an opportunity. If you want to test out all the things that we just discussed, these are coupons for 25% off your first purchase on the store. And we have all high quality specialty items, food, treats, toys, beds, whatever you want for your fur baby.
Thanks a lot for your story. It was really just incredible. I'm just wondering, in terms of the evolution, how you were getting that feedback from the community, from your customers. Was it through formal processes, informal? How did you approach so that you could do those pivots to get that information?
Originally with the, I don't think, oh, there it is, yeah. Originally with the rescues, it was informal, but because they were signing up, and then they would start to use it, and their volunteers would use it, and that they became kind of our. But we had 6 really good big rescues that were giving us a lot of great information on how to develop that particular area of the site or of what we're doing. So that I would say informal, but it became formal because they just would feed back to us what we were doing. From the consumer side, it was actually they would write us. They would say, I love this. Not only do I get to buy the food I want, you have very fair prices, and I could donate back to my rescue of my choice. I love that. And so what we started to see was we started tracking who were making the comments and what percentage of the people buying were actually doing what we would call custom donations, which means I'm going to actually name the rescue or shelter that I want to give to. And it started out, because we were acquiring customers, it was around 8%. And as of last month, we're up to 31%. That name. So we're slowly building that up. That is great for us because that makes it very personal. At the end of the month, we write them a note saying you donated back to Old Dominion Boston Terrier Rescue, and then we write to Old Dominion Boston Terrier Rescue and say Jack gave this money. So we're just kind of creating this nice environment, and we're the one facilitating it. So formal from the rescues would be a right way, informal from the consumer.
Next question. How long did you say Buddy has been up and running now as far as selling through?
The store's been around for a year. Well, we really pushed out. We started last year building it out. It launched in April of this year, so it's only been about 6 months for the store. The platform itself with all the rescues and stuff has been around 3 years.
And so you've been selling online for about 3 years now?
No, we've been selling only online for about 6 months.
Oh, 6 months. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So, and we learned a lot in that period of time, and that's why we went out and got those deals done. Because like I said, people will support a cause-based organization, but you have to be reasonable in your expectations of how much they will support you. It's really interesting to see if you're $5 more a bag on a $50 bag of dog food, they will not buy it. But if you're $2 more, they will. There is an absolute data to take a look at along those lines.
On the 6% give back part, is that also promoted on your website so that people can see exactly what organizations are being helped
Yeah.
and how they're being helped?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first thing you see on our site, and it's really important because when you're trying to you want to hit them with your value prop right out of the gate. And we did a lot of studies of social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurial companies, and that's what they did. Because if you hit them with the dog food first, everybody sells dog food. Why would I want to buy from you? And you really want to hit them with your social message.
Quick question. Do you know Andy Wilson?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Have you networked with him? Because he's a huge advocate for dog therapy or pet therapy in general.
Yes, I know Andy very well.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I think he would just be a great connection for you and just, I would say, an evangelist in helping your mission grow.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, please.
Hey, great presentation, by the way.
Thanks.
Very informative. What key metrics are you looking at in your day-to-day business that you think, this is what, the 3 things I'm looking at today? Is it customer acquisition cost versus lifetime customer value? I know you don't have any inventory costs, but I'm sure there are metrics that you're keeping.
We look at it's a great question. Customer acquisition costs. What are the markets we're trying to acquire in? Because it's a very interesting dynamic to try to study. Is AdWords more effective? Is Facebook more effective? Because remember, we're not a discount house, we're a value house. So you have to look at those various channels and see what is actually performing for you. And then the lifetime value actually comes through by looking at who is actually, we love that 8% to 31%. Because it's showing that people are getting our message and are actually customizing their donation, which means they will be back. That's where you start to see where your lifetime value comes in. Because if I'm personally knowing that I'm buying the same dog food I would buy anyways, but it goes to Old Dominion Boston Terrier Rescue, which is where my dog came from, and I love that organization, you're going to shop with us. Because if you don't, it doesn't go to them. So those are 2 key metrics, is acquisition and lifetime. And the lifetime is judged on how many times are they coming back. And we see that if they name the rescue, that is a great way to see lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't choose a rescue place to put the money, do you just put it in one of your choice?
It's a general fund, and typically we work with the people who've signed up for the rescue side, the partners on the rescue side. They're using the software to manage their rescues. It's a general fund, and we'll donate to them. Or in this case, we did Brother Wolf Rescue last month because of what happened with Hurricane Florence. So we sent the money to people in need in North Carolina so they could take care of the animals. So most of the time it goes to one of our partners, but if there's a tragedy, we'll put that money toward that monthly money will go there. So the money always goes out somewhere every month.
Question back here.
Sure.
Hi, good morning. Thank you
Morning.
for sharing your story.
Sure.
I have a pet product as well. It's a passion product. Caninecloud.net is the site. It's a unique pet bed. But you can say that, we have commoditized products effectively, right? You can get your stuff on Amazon, you can get a bed at Petco, what have you. So my challenge has been digital marketing, right? Getting the word out. We've got a great product, people love it, but it's been so time consuming, time intensive. So I'm wondering I'm sure you've shared that same struggle. What has been your approach to marketing, and where have you had the most success?
Right now, our biggest success in the beginning was with Google AdWords, and we've really refined it. If you get into Google AdWords, I'm going to buy the keyword dog food, or in your case, dog bed, right? And where we started to refine is get to really specifics. Signature dry dog food, 27-pound bag turkey. Find places. You have to get into a niche where you're the person that's actually, you're showing up there as far as the marketing goes. So we really started to refine it way, way down. And lots of work too. When you have tons of brands, it's a lot of work. There was a belief in our organization, we're gonna learn a lot more with working with Mike's group, but that if you couldn't get people at the lower end of the funnel, Facebook was gonna be tough too, because it isn't as good as Google is as far as identifying the opportunity with the consumer, despite the ability to tag who they are. That was a belief of our marketing person at the time. It'll be interesting to see what Mike has to say about that. In your case, you really have to differentiate the brand. Like, what are you bringing to the table with the cloud bed that's different than what a typical bed would be? Because that's where you're going to actually, win. You're going to need to do it by probably influencer marketing, getting out with the blogs, getting companies like us to feature you. Those are the kind of things you'll need to do, because our consumers, and you have to go to the stores that consumers are looking for a different product. Like if you go into the big box store, it's going to be really hard. You're going to be one of 1,000 beds. So you really have to kind of specialize and really get granular to be successful. But there's plenty of room. The market's there. And if you have a good product, absolutely. And I'll give you an example, give you, I guess, hope instead of the hype is we've seen a tremendous success with collars that are custom made by smaller companies because they're unique. And people love unique things. Remember, these are fur babies. They're kids. They're not just dogs and cats anymore. So if you have a super bed that really works well, we can talk more about it, but it's really getting in, finding your niche and pushing it through that niche.
Hey, great talk. Thank you very much. My question is, it seems like you'd have a real opportunity to leverage the rescues relationship with the consumer as part of your marketing plan and really enabling them. Is that a big part of your consumer marketing? And how do you enable those organizations to really help push your message and products?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I mean, that's one of the cornerstones of what we're trying to do. We're still learning because remember, save an animal, save an animal, save an animal, raise money, save an animal, run my business, help my partner generate revenue, right? So we're really working on what does that packet look like? It almost has to be a self-service. I mean, it has to be a packet that just, here, give this, put that in your newsletter. Like, you really have to do everything for them because they have a lot more things to do. So it's been a struggle. Be straight with you. It's been a struggle. But we've learned a lot from it, and it's absolutely where we need to go because they have mailing lists of 4,000, 5,000 people. I mean, every one of those, we probably have access to 100,000 people, and because of what we're doing, the money comes back to them. So that's where I think we're making a difference, and we're authentic. Do you know how many times they get approached a week? 12. Oh, we love what you do. You're making such a big difference. Can you put your callers in there and do this? It's crazy. What we do is a lot different. And that's why we think we have a chance to be able to work through that group. You're absolutely correct, but it's been very, very difficult.
So I have a little kitty that I have adopted.
Okay.
And you talked about the percentages of kittens that are, euthanized. And I'm not sure if this is your mission, but how are we going to reduce those kittens getting born in the first place?
Oh, it's the
Are
trap-
they doing things to help?
Yeah, if you want to get into the welfare side of things, it's called trap and release. And so what they do is they trap the feral cats, spay or neuter them, and then release them back into the environment. If you wanted to, if you said I want to go to this cattery that does that work and this is what it's for, then we send it to the cattery to do that work. Yeah, it's trap and release. And the other one is, if you guys ever find 3-week-old kittens, leave them alone. That sounds crazy because you want to save them. Wolves are going to get them, whatever. Mama cat's around. She's probably hunting. If you bring those 3-week-old kittens in, they have to be bottle fed for the next 5 weeks. And there's just not resources to do that in most of the shelters. So that's why you hear in kitten season, please just leave the animals where they are. Once they get to be 8 or 10 weeks old or bigger, then you can make your own decision. But don't grab the young kittens because the only one that can feed them is the mother. It's a little known fact. You think you're doing a good thing, but it's actually hurting.
Over here in the middle.
I'm just curious, what happened to the offshore development team and the UX UI guy you work with?
We still have the offshore because we learned how to do it. I guess we didn't have time to go into in a lot of detail because that would be another talk. Offshore, you have to manage it daily, and you have to be up in the middle of the night, and you have to talk to them every single day. Because if you don't, it will go like this so quickly you will not even understand. The other thing is what we consider to be 100% of the job done or 100% of the value delivered, they look at the same thing at about 65%. Not because they're not working as hard or anything, it's just the way they look at what needs to be delivered versus what, let's say, a more Western US version of it. So you have to be on top of them every day. Know what most people do? How many people here have done overseas or offshore development? Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's $150 versus $20. I mean, it's a big difference. But if you leave them for a week, how many people have seen it kind of go a little bit sideways when they come back the next week? It is. So you have to manage it through the night. It killed me to build this thing up because if you're not managing it through the night, it goes, like I said, it goes sideways. So I would stay up through the night, not all, like I'd be up at midnight, I'd be up at 4 in the morning, and I'd be up at 8 just to make sure it was just all done. And it worked. It does. But it's a death by 1,000 cuts if you don't work it really hard. And there is a value difference between $150 an hour and $20 an hour. Definitely. If you want to pay $20 an hour, you better be ready to do the other $130 worth of work. What? Yes. And especially when they go again, my overseas development, who are very good now, we have a great working relationship, but don't know anything about dogs. Just don't.
Sean, one last question. You've obviously made a strategic change in terms of the marketing of the company, especially by hiring Echo Factory. What were some of the reasons why you chose them? Kind of putting you on the spot here.
Oh yeah, I mean it's quite easy actually. Mike is just an amazing. I mean, if you look at Mike and all the good work he's done, and I mean on a global basis, and his work in Tokyo and everything was amazing. I loved you doing that, bud. I loved it. No, actually, it was go big or go home. We had been doing the 5-hour-a-week thing, or you know what? I'll give you 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month, and we really were looking for somebody that was going to be committed and invested with us. And when I talked about the fact that you got to be willing to spend the money or do whatever it takes to get the right partner, you have to be able to do that. And we found Mike in the group, and we went through a lot of agencies to find out. We were down to 2, and we really kept pushing through to make sure that the fit was there. Like, could they help us with the marketing? Could they help us with the branding? Did they understand what we were trying to do? The combination of social awareness and brand marketing, that's not a lot of organizations can understand that. We felt comfortable that they could do that. And so overall, they just became the best choice. And we graded tons of people out on this stuff, even, like the high-flying West Side agencies, but they came across as as really understanding what we're trying to do. And for a product market fit for us was great. They're the right size for us. So it was perfect.